What's happening, everybody? I'm back. It's me, your resident supervillain, Mr. J. Washington, and I am here with my official review for the series premiere of the DC Universe's Doom Patrol. Now, this will potentially drop before the episode itself, so I'm letting you know in advance that there will be spoilers in it. If you don't want anything spoiled, if you want to keep everything to, excitement of seeing it for the first time, pause it here, go watch the episode when it drops, come right back to this point, and then we'll see if your feelings compare to my feelings or if they're completely different. All right. So let's get right into it. My overall thoughts on the episode are this. There's work that needs to be done, but it was a nice setup for everything. And I get that we had a setup already when we were introduced to Elastigirl, Negative Man, Robot Man, and Beast Boy in episode 4 of Titans. Well, you get more of what you saw. Somewhat, shall I say? You get an introduction into how all of our characters came to be, how all these doomed souls came to come together. Okay, whatever. That sounds like it should be used for something else, but we're going to use it here. You see, the thing, it starts out, this show stays dark, and it stays to DC Universe's motto now of we're going to be even more edgier and darker than what the Netflix Marvel shows were. Now, I know I should not be comparing the two because it's a cardinal sin, but y'all know how I am with these reviews. The thing is, the reason DC Universe's show are so much edgier is because it is DC's own platform. So they can take risk that the Marvel shows couldn't take on Netflix. They could be kind of grimy, but they had to hold to a level where they couldn't go past. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they were R, but they couldn't go full R. Whereas the DC Universe shows do that. When we're introduced to Cliff Steele, who will eventually become Robot Man, we see Brendan Fraser, who, by the way, has not been in a gym in a god long time, because he is basically playing the character of a redneck turned race car driver turned millionaire turned accident survivor turned robot superhero. But we see in the beginning, when we start to see the episode, we see Cliff Steele fucking the babysitter. And I have to use that word just the way it is, because we see Cliff Steele's ass and we see all titties getting flapped. He is hitting it from the back and he is cheating on his wife while the daughter is doing something else. And I was like, okay, so we're going to go full on with it. We're going to go above what we already set in Titans. We're just going to go full edgy R, push close to the X rating, or NC-17, shall I say, more so not X, NC-17. But we see how his accident is played in his memory so many times. We see the chief, played by Timothy Dalton this time around, how he is trying to help him come to grips with being a robot, how he wakes him up where you have Elastigirl sitting there. And it's sort of reminiscent to the first RoboCop, the original RoboCop, how we watched how they kept turning them on and turning them off, turning them on, turning them off, till they finally turned him on to let him walk and move and get acclimated to the body and even see himself. You see Negative Man, Larry Trainer, played by Matt Bloom, who his character is flying he's an experimental, Air Force jet. And when he goes outside the atmosphere, he's hit with a bombardment of negative rays. And you see him crash and burn, like literally. And his burning corpse is still walking around till it finally passes out, which henceforth explains the bandages. What you don't know until later in the episode is you find out that what the person you thought was just his best friend, a la a Goose and Maverick and Top Gun, is actually his secret lover who eventually wanted him to hopefully leave his wife for him. Now, that's a cool little twist they added to it. It was unexpected, which I love. Unexpected twists are always great. You see how April Balby became Elastigirl. Rita Parr, played by April Balby, became Elastigirl. How where she's filming a scene in a movie, and the director wants to get a particular shot with her on a pier over the swamp in Louisiana. Which, by the way, isn't it always sometimes we hear an unfortunate accident happen on a film or TV set? It's involving the director that wants to get a shot that he really don't need, that his creative mind thinks it needs. It's like, hey, bro, you can seriously calm the hell down. Like, you don't have to do this. You know what I'm saying? You're putting people in danger. You turned her into a living blob. You know what I'm saying? She was cute as hell. Then she was all melted. She looked like, again, dude at the end of RoboCop that got dropped in the toxic waste and was like, help me. Remember that? Remember that saying? We also get introduced to Crazy Jane, who comes into the house as, you know, after she had been away for a couple of days. She comes in the house and one of her personalities, Hammerhead, takes over. Now, the dope thing about Crazy Jane, if you don't know the character, is she has 64 personalities, I believe, inside of her. 64 different personalities, and each personality has a different superpower. That is hella dope when you hear that. 64 personalities, each with their own ability. And I have to give major props to Diane Guerrero because she plays the hell out of this role. She literally jumps from character to character. Some of the characters seem a little bit similar, but she goes into other characters that are completely different. And that takes a great actor to pull that off. When we finally get introduced to Mr. Nobody, how the look of him is a problem I have. It's the CGI looks rather cheesy. It looks rather cheesy. I really expected more with the way this show was being pumped. I really expected them to take their CGI a little bit to the level of the DC TV shows. If you ever watch The Flash, the level of CGI that's done there is phenomenal, as well as Legends of Tomorrow. I just felt we could have got something of that. The way they wanted to portray this, I get what they were going for, but it looks so comic book cartoonish, it does not really work. And speaking of comic book cartoonish, there's a reason I believe that a lot of people might not get into this show, is because this show is very meta. It is very self-aware. And it's so self-aware at one point where Alan Tudyk's character is talking to Timothy Dalton's character, and he's actually narrating the story, like I told you earlier, what he does. And at one point, the chief, Timothy Dalton, says, "Who are you talking to?" And he says, "Oh, Reddit critics, DC haters, and people who are on social media," something like that. It's aware of what's happening. It's aware that people are going to be criticizing or praising it on these different outlets. Do we need it? I don't think so. I think sometimes that's an unnecessary jab that you can avoid. It's a poke the bear that you don't have to do. You don't get, like I said earlier, you don't get Cyborg introduced until the next episode. There's a lot of stuff that happens with this. I mean, we go through the emotion of Robot Man when he finally realized he was a robot, learning how to walk and how to be acclimated to it, how he didn't want to go anywhere, go outside for years. He just stayed in his room. And I get you sympathize with him a lot, and I get that. That's fine. There's a setup, but I think this episode should do that. But there's some things we just don't need. Again, Robot Man is like Hawk from Titans, whereas I know I sound like I'm nitpicking when I say this. I'm well aware of it. The fact that he says fuck just for the sake of saying fuck. Again, it's that showing, oh, we're going to be edgy for the sake of being edgy. And I say that also as a stand-up comedian who a lot of people go on stage and try to be shocking and just make people go, oh, and full of edge and don't have a real joke, a real point, or a real necessity to say and or do it, what they're doing. And sometimes it feels like that in Doom Patrol. Now, to culminate this all up, to say what would I give this if I had to give this episode a rating out of 1 to 5 stars, Doom Patrol gets a 3 from me. The reason being, there's still more to see, but from what I see right now, I'm not 100% impressed. I love what I saw in Titans in its own series. I'm like, nah. And I don't know if it was because the way they were introduced in Titans was a small dose. It was just enough. But this episode has me like, all right, y'all better come better with it. Now, again, if you've seen this episode, let me know if my thoughts match up to your thoughts. If they don't, let me know why. Like, subscribe, comment down below. You know what I'm saying? Let people know about this video. Share this review as well. Get eyes on it everywhere. I want people talking about this. I love these comic book TV shows and movies. All of them do not hit. All of them from each company. And guess what? It doesn't matter. We talk about it. We discuss it. That's what you're supposed to do. All right. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram while you're at it, at Mr. J Washington. That's MRJAY. You should know how to spell Washington. It's on a dollar bill. Get your life together. Swear it straight up. Hit me on YouTube, youtube.com. For those who have not subscribed, if you saw this somewhere else, JAY Washington 80, and join my supervillain squad, man. It's on Patreon, patreon.com/Mr. J Washington. I spelled it earlier, so I'm not going to do that again. What the supervillain squad is a bunch of things, a bunch of thoughts and interviews and feelings I have that won't go on the YouTube channel, that won't go on the Mad Titan podcast, which I'll tell you about in a second. They're just exclusively for members of the squad. And I try to be reasonable with my Patreon. I know people have these $20, $30, $40 tiers. I wish I could do all that, but right now I know some people are struggling. So $1, $5, just join the squad and we'll have a blast with that, okay? And speaking of the Mad Titan podcast, like I said, I get you caught up on everything in the Marvel and DC live action and cinematic universes, Cape, Cal, and mask only. People got to conceal their identities. So I get you caught up with all of that, and it's available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart, Player FM, wherever you get podcasts, you can find the Mad Titan. Make sure you check that out. Become a downloader of it. Subscribe to that as well. I try to drop it every Friday, early Saturday, and I want you to have it and rock with me. It's barbershop talk for geeks and nerds. I keep it all the way 100, and my guests know that as well, that I bring on every single week, all right? I will holler at you guys later. Take care. I'm out of here. Peace.